Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Broxtowe series, 10 parishes with an industrial past running along the western fringe of Nottinghamshire. Where are we today, viewers? Welcome back to Broxtowe again, people. It's been a while since we've been here. Now, when the sun comes out in this part of Nottinghamshire, it's not uncommon to see a lot of people walking around this particular area because there are plenty of footpaths and bridleways for you to do just that. And there's a lovely village as well. Let's go and check out what is the smallest parish in all of Broxtowe, and that would be Strelley. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Strelley, street clearing. This week in Broxtowe, we're in a place that we theoretically shouldn't be. No, don't worry, nothing untoward is happening, it's just that Nottinghamshire has undergone some changes during the past 12 months. This is Strelley, which is actually not a parish in its own right anymore. It was abolished in 2023 and merged with Cossall. However, as this is a very recent alteration, Strelley's former boundaries still show up on maps in all the usual places, and for that reason, this one will still get the full works. Strelley is known for two things, more than anything else. First of all, it's where the massive Strelley Hall is located, easily the biggest local attraction. Secondly, although tiny and not really a traditional mining village, this was the location of a huge open-cast coal mine. That's now been built over, mainly by the M1, but coal has played a vital role in Strelley's history throughout the last few hundred years. The village was the upper terminus of the Woollerton Wagonway, which was built in the early 17th century to assist with the haulage of the mineral. Many believe that it was, as a result, the earliest known overground railway in the world. That's quite a claim for such a well out-of-the-way kind of place. So let's dig in, if you'll excuse the pun, and have a look at Strelley in a bit more detail. It's well worth a look. Before we start walking, there's some bits of hidden history to discuss in Strelley. The place is notable for being the upper terminus of one of the earliest recorded railway lines in the world. That would be the Woollerton Wagonway, which was used by horse-drawn coal wagons that travelled to their destination on wooden railway lines. It was completed during 1604 and built by Huntingdon Beaumont, who worked in partnership with the second occupier of Woollerton Hall, Sir Percival Willoughby. The wagonway is believed by many to have been the world's first, and therefore it's regarded as a significant step in the development of railways as a whole. Its primacy, though, is a little questionable. There was a similar wagonway built at Prescott near Liverpool at roughly the same time. There was also a wagonway at Broseley in Shropshire, which could have been even earlier. Whatever the case, Woollerton was important for the haulage of coal. It ran for 2 miles from Strelley to Woollerton Lane End, where most of the coal was taken onwards by road to Trent Bridge and then downstream on the River Trent by barge. The Strelley mines were worked only until about 1620, by which time all readily recoverable coal had probably been mined. After that, the wagonway was presumably abandoned. Coal mining, though, remained a significant industry in Strelley almost all the way up to the present day. During the 1960s, much of the western part of Strelley Parish was dominated by a huge open-cast coal mine. After it closed, the M1 motorway was constructed over its site. How many times have you driven on that part of the road? I guarantee you'll be thinking a bit differently about the tarmac under your wheels now. We start on Main Street, the only road in the village, and in doing so, we're on the route of the Broxtowe Country Trail. It's 27 miles long and largely follows the boundary between Broxtowe and Nottingham before looping north into Ashfield and ending in Amber Valley at Langley Mill. Scenery-wise, it's considered to be one of the most attractive in Nottinghamshire, and if this picturesque vista isn't the proof, I don't know what is. Mind you, that will look good, because it's parkland. It belongs to the massive Strelley Hall, which dominates the centre of this linear village. Although it's peaceful here, there is a distinctive road noise. In the distance you can see the M1 making its way through the area. Several centuries ago, religious figures did just that too. Seen here is a sign telling us about the stones of the Monk's Way. Where are they, you ask? Well, we're walking on them because they're incorporated into this footpath that once connected monasteries, according to the sign. Legend has it the stones were laid by monks who brought a slab on the back of a mule each time they used the path. This may be true, but equally there are theories that the stones are more recent, having been laid for the transport of coal by pack horses during the 18th century. Whatever's true, you can follow the ancient slabs to All Saints Church, which stands tall on a hill right in the middle of the village street. The churchyard is split into two pieces. As well as the main area around the church, there's a separate area across the road which contains the War Memorial. The church dates from the 13th century originally, but was rebuilt in 1356 by Samson de Strelley. The clerestory was later added in the 15th century. The whole building was restored by G.G. Place in the 1850s, and then again in 1895 by our favourite Nottinghamshire architect, Charles Hodgson Fowler. The churchyard provides a good view of Strelley Hall, which was originally constructed again in 1356 and again by Samson de Strelley. It's on the site of a fortified mansion house or castle, which dated back to about 1200. The majority of Strelley Hall as we see it today was built in the 1780s, when the Edge family were its occupants. Extensive farm buildings belonging to the hall were constructed at the corner where the Monk's Way leaves Main Street. Although these buildings were demolished in 1969, a stone stile remains close to the point, which makes reference to the Edge family. Despite being much more modern than its initial 14th century layout, many original features of Strelley Hall still remain today. These include the castle room, thought to be part of an ancient tower, and the panelled room, which dates back to Georgian times. Strelley Hall is now a major attraction in this part of Nottinghamshire. As you can see here, it has the Mulberry Tree Cafe, open for business to all that wander by. Strelley Hall offers much more than that though. It's no longer a grand mansion, it's a business centre and an events venue, and it's well loved too. Now if you're a visitor to Strelley, you're probably going to end up parking your car along this stretch of road just here. I've opted for a place that's further down the road so that I can walk between 2 points. But mostly people park the car here or in the car park at Strelley Hall. And it's a nice spot. It's under the trees, it's shaded, and when the sun's out like this, you need to come back to a cool car, don't you? Right, so we're going to carry on up this road for a little bit longer. It runs into a dead end. I've already been up there, so I know what's up there. It's just basically a collection of houses. We'll catch a few shots of those, then we'll turn around and come back, and that's basically Strelley. It's a linear village with not really much more than the hall and the church to talk about. Strelley Hall's luxury office suites can be rented out, and its elegant rooms are available to hire for a variety of functions. You can even get married here, you know. The hall will host the first ever Strelley Village Country Show in September this year, which will have a farmers market. Now doesn't that sound awesome? After passing the main vehicular entrance, the village starts to become a little less defined. Here's one of the many lanes and footpaths that radiate from the main street. The grounds of the hall stretch for a long way to the north, but soon you find yourself running out of road. Now it's always a good idea on these linear ones to save something for the way back, and I have here, and that's the parish notice board which you can find outside the church. So we'll just stick a card on this, and then that will be 5 down officially in Broxtowe. That means we are halfway there, 5 down out of 10. Now, there's one more thing I do want to cover before we leave Strelley behind, and that would be its pub. It's called the Broad Oak, and to get to that, we just keep following the road back down here. Goes downhill slightly along the stones of the Monk's Way, pick up the car, which is on the corner, and then head down via the car to the Broad Oak pub. You may have seen the pub before, actually, if you're a long-term viewer, because I covered it in a Out for a Drive episode, which you may or may not have seen, I don't know. I drove to it across Nottingham before coming here. Let's go and see it again. Now, of course, you can walk to the pub, and if you do, you'll be using the Monk's Way again, as more stones are set into the footpath. I chose to drive it though, so here we are at the Broad Oak, which is the only pub in the village. The Broad Oak is so named thanks to an actual oak tree which stood behind Strelley Hall in the Broad Oak plantation. The pub was sold by auction in 1962, but originally it had been part of the Strelley estate and first held a licence in 1811. As well as the pub, there's also a second property with the Broad Oak name. That would be Broad Oak Farmhouse, bang opposite, which was built in the 1950s to replace an earlier farmhouse where Pinfold Cottage now stands. The rest of Main Street at this point is now not in Broxtowe, as Strelley Village straddles the Nottingham boundary. Among the buildings on the Nottingham side is an old school and attached schoolmaster's house. It was built in 1872 and closed in 1947. Now, speaking of schools, the boundary between Broxtowe and Nottingham isn't a simple linear affair. Strelley also contains a small part of the Nottingham suburb of Bilborough. This is effectively a brand new estate that sits east of the A6002. These houses are the only part of the suburb that lie within Broxtowe, but we can't cover this area without talking about the largest landmark here. It's impossible to miss the massive Bilborough Sixth Form College. Originally opened in 1957 as Bilborough Grammar School, this became a sixth form college in 1975 when Nottingham's education system became comprehensive. Since then, the college has grown from 635 students to 1,600. Notable alumni include Hunger Games actor Tom Blythe, DJ and former Big Brother host Alice Levine, and musical actress Rosalie Craig. And that'll do us for Strelley. Let's move on to the next one in Broxtowe, a parish which this time does in fact still exist. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.